I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired all the time. All my world speakers coming to me.
Hi, I'm Scott Valentine. This is the Smarter EV podcast. With me today are Sanjeev Singh, the CEO of Elocity. Elocity is a Canadian EV charging technology company. Elocity delivered the largest multi-unit residential building installation in Canada, 1,200 plus chargers. Elocity has also delivered the largest smarter EV charging project in the world. But hey, you know what? He is not topped by our next guest, Theodore McKibbon, National Business Development Manager of Rexel Energy Solutions in Canada. Rexel is a distributor enabling electrification supply chains, contractor workforce, and grid stage solutions. And folks, just for a kicker, Theo is also Theodore McKibbon, drummer of Canadian rock band The Trues. Theo, Sanjeev, welcome.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Scott.
Thanks so much, Scott. Happy to be here.
All right. So let's get it going. Our theme today is electrification is only real when real people build it. What we want to do is highlight some of the important groups, people, organizations that are helping to accelerate EV charging projects in Ontario. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on right now with the ChargeON program, because that window is open as we speak. So let's start here. Gentlemen, Canada's EV transition is not an abstract tech story. It is a workforce, infrastructure, reliability story. We'll start here. Electrical contractors. There's not a charger that goes in Canada unless an electrical contractor is involved. These are the people who physically make the transition real. Every charger, every panel upgrade, every managed load system depends on them. Theo, to you, sir. How are today's contractors experiencing this scale up? What are their sort of skill gaps and their issues around maybe supply? What are you hearing?
Great question. You know, they're, as a distributor, first and foremost, contractors are our bread and butter. They are the guys that, and girls that come in every day and, you know, make sure that I'm able to pay my mortgage. But they are integral to the energy transition. Like any emerging market, any emerging technology, there are always going to be technological gaps. People who need to learn, people who want to enter and figure out how they're going to teach their workforce to install these things, or how they're going to bid on RFPs and make sure they have the right package together. So as a distributor, you know, and as Rexel Energy Solutions, what we want to make sure we're doing is helping to fill those technological gaps, helping to liaison between manufacturers, new technology, and ensuring that the right hardware, software mixes are being put into play. You know, we want to just move from just, not just supplying product, but supplying solutions, right? We want to have integrated pieces on this, not just the EV charger, but it's the EV charger and it's the software, and maybe it's the battery storage system and the microgrid controller. Do they want to use solar? How are we having the conversation with them about this whole ecosystem, how it can work? They need to know grants. How are they going to help empower their customer to say yes, to alleviate the burden on their CapEx? So how do we help them navigate that market? ChargeON, like you said, great opportunity for us to go and look after that. You know, 50, 75% in the total cost. Now that makes a big deal. But yeah, one of the other struggles I would probably talk about is some of the smaller shops out there, right? They want to get together. They might not have the engineering prowess to get together to really go after some of the more technical projects. So what we've started to do, and what I see a distributor being able to help with immensely, is being able to help with the engineering side, the technical side. So being able to do each engineer and procure. So for a solar project, say, do I need to look at doing the connection impact assessment, SA plan review, making sure we have the single line put together, and then we can spec all the products, make sure we have the right inverters, transformers, the solar control modules, and then pass off a wonderful piece for the contractor to take to his customer and install. We also do that with EV, larger DC fast charging stations, or potentially level 2 stations, depending on how big they are. Load management. We have to figure out how all these things work. So, you know, I think that technical side and the rebate side are definitely the biggest questions we get asked. Next would be, how can I get a better price on this? But, you know, that's our everyday struggle.
You know, what Theo just made abundantly clear is there's a lot of complexity involved in putting this technology into place. Talk about how Elocity is positioned to help reduce some of that complexity and how that's going to change things for contractors moving forward.
That's a great question, Scott. Thanks, Theo. I think it was very enlightening. So I strongly believe that EV charging is an ecosystem play, and electrical contractors are the link who make it success or a failure. So together with Rexel Energy Solutions, we are offering end-to-end, including writing the application, putting the right design into place, and then bringing expertise of Rexel Energy Solutions to make sure that chargers being installed today, they're operating for many, many years, because that's the real value. Working with the electrical contractors and other partners is very important, because we want to offer really an optimized solution, which is very important for EV charging. A lot of customers are not buying EVs because A, the reliability of charging network, B, the cost of charging networks, right? That's where we can create a differentiator. Also, local experience, in my opinion, is very, very important. We are a Canadian company made in Canada, and Drexel has a huge network. So I think our customers and the people who are looking to apply for each ChargeON grant would really see a value in us. We would stand there having experience of delivering large of the largest project across the globe, and a true Canadian success story. And I want to thank Theo and Padma, because they trusted us, and we are trusting them.
Love that.
Excellent. Gentlemen, want to shift the conversation now to a different group of people who are very near and dear to us. And these are the people that are involved with creating the future of Canada's multi-unit residential buildings. So let's talk about, for the people that are making those long-term decisions about multi-unit buildings, electrification cost is a big deal, load constraints, permitting. These are some of the common issues. From your point of view, what are developers and property managers actually worried about? And are you seeing more activity and interest on the retrofit side of the market or on new build at this point?
There's interest on both. Some because we have legislation that is driving mandatory either EV ready spots, so maybe just ready to put a charger on the wall if someone decides to do it. A lot of it is customers, the tenants asking, "Hey, I want to buy a new car, or I own a car and I can't charge. I don't want to go to the public station. I want to come home just like any other resident who might own a home and charge at night." So for the new builds, it's not a gadget, it's infrastructure. It is the electrical infrastructure needed in new builds through and through. For those solutions, we have the ability to, design right the first time for what they need today. And as it expands, as adoption grows into 2030, 2040, 2050. Those aren't really where we have the same type of technical constraints or struggles where we're having to help either the condo boards, the ownership, the developers, or the contractors navigate. It's the retrofit side of things that become a little bit tricky, because where the parking garage is designed to hold the weight of all those electric vehicles, do they have the existing infrastructure, electrical inside, and excess power to provide energy to everybody that wants it? Do they need to think about bringing new service? How are they going to implement it? You have 200 parking spots and one guy on one side wants one and one guy on the other side wants one. They don't want to switch parking spots, but now you have to run 200 meters of cable one way when you could just start off their stations 20 feet from the electrical closet, the electrical room, right? So you have all of these habits, price constraints, and then power constraints that you need to manage. Not to mention billing, right? In some places, like in Ontario, meter stacks, they're in condos, they're on every floor. You go to somewhere like Quebec and all the meter stacks are in the basement. So how are we building where we can easily access those things? So this way, maybe we don't need such fee-heavy management systems for billing and helping the condo board or the MURB, property manager wants to spend his days going around filling out Excel sheets to make sure this guy's paying for whatever amount of electricity he used. And no one wants to be in those fights about electrification, being able to use your vehicle. I have people talk to me about, well, we're just going to do shared charging, right? That's not going to work out. Some guy's going to plug the car in, go to sleep. Then I couldn't get ready for work today because Bob in unit 203 decided to not come and move his car. So there's all of these things that we need to kind of navigate and teach people about best practices. And we have to set the right expectation on what the investment is going to be today, what you're going to need to look for tomorrow to make sure that what you did today isn't going to have to be redone. And then how to talk to your tenants. That's the other thing. How do they have the conversation with the people in the building to either get them ready to do this, or those ones that are asking about it to have them do the things that they need to do on their end to make it a win-win for everybody involved.
Excellent point. Sanjeev, real simple. How is some of the new technology being introduced now changing the economics of things for people that put these big multi-unit residential buildings in?
Yeah, so I think I was again very impressed, Theo, your deeper understanding of the sector, because I do only EV charging since 10 years now. So I think for me, there are issues regarding power, technology, and then financing, then, stakeholders involvement. What we believe that a true solution would be a good collaboration between companies like Rexel Energy Solutions, Elocity, the local supplier. We always believed in future proofing our sites. So whatever we do is vendor agnostic. So you don't need to worry about tomorrow. Elocity would be happy to support transition because we strongly believe that our goal is to have EV charger in every parking spot, and also the property manager should be happy and the utility should be happy. Now, if I try to connect the dot of the value chains, it starts with a design which Rexel and Elocity can bring. A good design, good ROI, that would be our responsibility. And when it comes to tech, our tech is forward and backward compatible. It means we can handle any charger which is OCPP compliant, and we can basically, our chargers can work on any software platform which is forward looking and future proof. We also have ability for vehicle to grid, vehicle to building. This all is in house for Velocity, developed over a period of 7 years, and moreover everything should be done and addressed by AI. We have people stationed 24/7, partnership with thousands of electrical contractors, thousands of the people ready to be dispatched to handle it. We generally prefer not to repair but to replace. That's the best experience. And all in all, we want to offer financing if a customer needs some support. If I put everything together, I think the goal is to have customer delight and more people should buy EVs. That's the goal for Velocity.
Excellent. Gentlemen, let's jump to another group of people, and it's a beautiful tie on to the ChargeON thing once again. The people with the most to gain from resilience and building out the capacity of the grid in Canada are people in rural, northern, and Indigenous communities. This is because these communities face distinct challenges: distance, grid reliability, repair delays, and affordability. How is Rexel thinking about more remote distribution, helping to build some of that resilience in creating equitable and reliable access to electrification?
So Canada is a vast country. We are giant, and people have to travel. The last thing you want to do is be on a highway in Northern Ontario in the middle of winter and realize that you have no charging station in sight, or you show up somewhere and it doesn't work, or there's no power because it's a storm. Some of these places need to have critical infrastructure, backup power. They need to have resiliency measures put in place. And some of those things have multiple uses. So let's say, for example, battery-supported DC fast chargers. There are many places where a level 2 charger isn't going to help you. If you're traveling on a highway, the utility's not going to spend, or the township's not going to spend however many millions of dollars it's going to cost to run how many kilometers of new service or power to whoever they need to. Something like Starlink as well, because you need to have uptime. Do they have Wi-Fi or ability to hotspot or 4G service to call? So they have connectivity, so they're not stranded somewhere if it doesn't work by any chance. You also want to have safety involved too. So on these remote stations, you want to involve CCTV cameras, right? So this way people feel safe when they charge. It costs a lot to put it together, but in the grand scheme of things, to run all the power, the logistics, the coordination with the utility, that's probably a non-starter. And it's going to not be able to be implemented for 2-3 years down the line anyway, because of the wait time to have some of these things approved. So the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to look at distributed energy resources to support EV charging in remote communities. And if you look at rural and Indigenous communities, there are a lot of diesel gens and a real need to get off of some of that. So in moments of where they need more power, those BESS systems can also be used to supply power. So say you have a grocery store and it's the community grocery store, and it is a DC charger there. And that DC charger also has a 500 kilowatt hour battery that it supports there, right? Now, if something happens, they can utilize that battery to help keep critical infrastructure on and make sure food stays good if something were to happen. There's all kinds of ways that we can use these systems to better our lives, reduce the costs of everyday use of our buildings, and have the use of EVs seem more seamless. So these are all measures that really help, I think, deploy quickly and have a seamless experience with EV charging remotely and in rural communities across Canada.
Excellent. Sanjeev, can you add to that from Velocity's perspective? What's the vision for how to better support and create better solutions for these communities that are dependent on diesel or fragile or just scarce grid?
So, Scott, when we started Velocity, Don Huff, our chair, he has many, many years of experience helping remote communities, even advises First Nations. So that's pretty much in our DNA. So I think from the technology perspective, they need local generation. We do offer nanogrid, microgrid integration with our technology, so any battery can work. The second thing is they need a reliable technology, which we guarantee 99% uptime. The third thing is they really need support. So we operate 24/7 contact center. So anytime they reach out to us, and then our network with partners like Rexel Energy Solutions and a lot of other like Oz Electric, BASI. For First Nations, we want to really make it very easy for them. We are very, very committed to do anything, everything needed for First Nations. Yeah.
Gentlemen, let's talk to one more group we haven't talked about. They're probably the most important. Anybody who pays attention to this space understands EV is an ecosystem. It's not one thing. There's a whole bunch of things going on. From how that energy gets produced, to how it gets into what it needs to get into, to how those component parts get dealt with later on and repurposed. So let's talk about the key clients and partners that we're working with that we think are going to play an important role in the electrical transition we're going to turn.
All right. I think that, we've seen when it comes to the EV landscape, first off, it's still at a moment of inflection. There's still some rough waters, and we're still trying to figure out how we're going to build it. There's going to be some winners and there's going to be some losers. Already seen it happen. You have guys like Flow who are no longer making commercial units anymore. They're no longer making any of that. Countless brands that have come and gone. LG is one, for example. They were 6 months in and then put their foot out, right? So we have to be able to, first off, to recognize some of those. Who has staying power? We need to advise properly on who is going to be around today, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That's the first thing. The other thing is, how do we as a distributor support contractors or end users and developers in these projects? Say you're looking at a hub for municipal transit. The city's going to get their buses on day number whatever. You don't have those chargers going. They have a stranded asset, right? We can't have that happen. I have had situations where there has been a lead time on a component that costs $20 that is holding up $30 million worth of infrastructure going live. So we need to look at stocking the right products. We have DCs across the country. Are we going to flex that muscle and bring in switchgear and transformers a little bit earlier than we normally would to ensure that we mitigate the risk for our customers and our clients, so that way we can meet timelines when we're not paying liquidated damages for not being able to turn things on? We don't want our contractors to have that. So we need to mitigate the risk first and foremost to the best of our ability, making sure that we are ahead of the curve on what is happening with our key components, whether that's going to be the transformers, switchgear, breakers, wire cable conduit, all of this stuff that goes in behind the scenes. How are we sourcing that and how are we making sure that it's going to be there on time? I can't tell you the countless projects that have gone sideways just because there's been miscommunications in when something's supposed to show up. And, you don't want your guys on site twiddling their thumbs or having to send them home. All that's money for the guys that we're either supporting or that are investing in this technology. And if they see us wasting it, or they see their investment not turning out as we've sold them on it or they envisioned, they're less likely to keep on that path. Our job is to make sure that it turns out as wonderfully as it can. And that's careful planning, thinking to the future, and investing in brands that are going to be there for the long term. All of that matters. All of that matters so much.
That's true. So I would add here, I think the turnkey or front end should be done by the large companies like Rexel, because what happens, the risk of, stranded asset is very high. The delays are demotivating to a lot of customers, and the financial and, legal implications are very high. So what we believe as Elocity is to work with companies like Excel and large builders. Like we also work with Elocity in a couple of projects. We work with Oz Electric. We work with the largest builder in the country like Tridel, and we start very early in the game. We don't go and do reactive sales. We generally do very constructive, consultative sales where we make sure that customer is not wasting money. And we are happy earning less, but we sustainable company. Last year we were profitable on gross margin, which is very few companies in this space. So I am very thankful to the team partners we have. They really are putting best efforts. Coming back to sustainability of the sector, how we can de-risk it for the site host, which is the property who is going to invest or co-invest with us on EV charging. We would offer you best-in-class design services, and we will work with your engineering companies to make sure that it's future proof. And as I said earlier, our technology is certified, so you don't need to worry about if anything happens, you still have a replacement or an alternate. Now, the third thing is I would always give first right of refusal to Rexel and our large partners, because they have ability to calculate the risk properly and manage the risk. I think what is going on in the industry that people are selling opportunistically, and they are importing and not knowing what will happen in the future. I see that is going to be a big issue very soon, because a lot of chargers are not manufactured here. Localization has not been considered properly. I would think that government of Ontario in particular, who is investing a lot in EV sector, they should be really thinking about localization, because it's very important for us.
I think that's very true. Making sure that we're supporting Canadian-made products not only helps us strengthen our own economy, but it also, I think, it de-risks some of it as well. It lets us make sure that we're able to meet the demand, and if something goes wrong, that we have boots on the ground where you live, who experience the weather, the climate, the customs, all of it. That is incredibly important.
I live here in Windsor, Ontario, the automotive manufacturing hub of Canada. Nexstar just put the world's largest EV battery plant about 5 kilometers from my house. It is a very impressive campus. And you know what I love? Everything's going electric around here. It's just happening slowly, but it is happening. It speaks to your point about localization, that some people who perhaps are going to see this don't live in the middle of one of those places where electrification is happening. It's not readily apparent to them yet. It's easy to miss if you're not paying attention to it, if you're not working in the industry. But it's going to get a whole lot tougher to miss as we go forward. Just to wrap up, it is not just about technology. It's about relationships. It's about a lot of different groups of people, contractors, developers, these folks in rural and northern Indigenous communities who can benefit so much from the future of electrification. It's about the utilities that can bring them all together. There's a lot going on. What's the one thing that you wish the average person walking down the street understood about electrification in Canada, Ontario, what's happening right now, that maybe they don't? And what is your one great hope for the future?
What do I wish everybody knew? My God, that's a long list. Honestly, I wish everybody knew just how valuable the investment was. Truthfully, I have a 6-year-old boy, and I was lucky enough to grow up in Northern Ontario. So I got to walk in through pristine wilderness, and I love the outdoors. Didn't go back to school to take sustainable building design because I thought it would make me money. I went to do that because I thought it was the right thing to do, because I want to leave a future for my children, my children's children, and all of your kids. Right? Like that, it's not just, a self-interested thing. I want us all to have a wonderful life on this beautiful planet we have. And taking these steps, although sometimes they're a pain in the ass, at the end of the day, for us to win at the energy transition, the value that it will bring into our everyday life, even electricity pricing. I wish people just knew how important it was and how much better their lives would get if we were to succeed at this. So I hope that message can cross the minds of everyone in Canada, and they can buy in, and we can motor ahead and empower our country coast to coast.
That's awesome. So what's that one thing that people need to know that they don't know, and what is your hope for the future?
So the one thing I would say, so that people listen to me, is if you're not driving electric, I can guarantee your grandkids would. So it's 100% guarantee. So if that is the case, listen to us. I seen both parts of the world. I born in a beautiful country in India, but I have seen the way people have not managed environment, and we suffered a lot. So I think Canada needs localization. We need more jobs. We need to work together, and that's why we say in Elocity, Canadian technology made for the world. That's our goal. It's not always about making money. It's about making sure that something grows when, my grandkids should feel proud about me and for everyone.
There's some links below that have LinkedIn profiles and websites and some other good stuff. Thank you very much for your time and for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired